Hello and welcome to another edition of Lift Tutoring show podcast where we bring you helpful hints and an in-depth look at what the things you can do to make sure your children get ready for kindergarten and have kindergarten readiness, and not only kindergarten readiness, but things that you can do for first grade readiness, second grade readiness, and third grade readiness, because if you've been listening to the show, you know that to have a great foundation, K through 2 or pre-K through 2 is all about learning how to read, and 3 and up is reading to learn. So again, I am founder of Lift Tutoring. I'm the author of Estelle and Gustav. You can buy that on paperback, in paperback, and on the Kindle ebook store on Amazon. I'm also the author of In His Shadow: Growing Up with Reggie White. And my name is Jeremy White. So welcome, parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins, friends, and avid listeners. Today I want to talk to you about the importance of reading with your child. I have been teaching kindergarten for the past 3 years, and I taught in Japan for 5 years. And there's different dynamics to teaching a language, and then also coming back to the States and teaching foundational reading strategies and tools to help children be able to develop a love for lifelong learning and reading readiness, and being able to really dive deep into what they're interested in. And what I've found is not rocket science, and it's very simple. Some of you may not remember exactly how it is you came to learn how to read. Some of you don't remember the intricate nature of what it takes to actually get a child, or to get yourself when you were a child, to be able to read fluently and with comprehension, and understanding the setting and the characters and the order of the story and the problem and the solution, and inferring and understanding foreshadowing, and being able to reread to find more details in the text, being able to study a text, knowing the difference between scanning a text and diving deeper into a text for meaning, and understanding all the different types of text between pictures are text, hyperlinks on websites are text, being able to go through different news articles, and being able to really just read people and environmental print like Walmart, Target, McDonald's. It's all, there's so much that goes into reading. There's more than just necessarily with just the letters on the page. So I know I've had many different kinds of students in the past. I've had many different kinds of parents who had different goals for their children. And the one thing that keeps coming up is, what can I do to make sure that my child is a great reader? Because either that parent, reading came easy to them. Either that parent, they forgot how they learned exactly specifically how to read, and so therefore they're trying to figure out the strategies that they need to do. Or that parent had difficulty reading when they were younger, and they don't want the same thing for their child. They want their child to be better than they were at that age. And I have my master's degree in elementary education. I've studied and read more text than I even thought possible when I was younger. I've gone over it time and time again on how to really have reading and reading comprehension. And the one thing that many, if not all, educators will tell you, especially the educators in the elementary in the elementary field, and especially the educators in kindergarten, first and second, they will tell you you need to either have your child reading for 15 to 20 minutes or read with your child for 15 to 20 minutes. That's it. Every day. There's just 15 to 20 minutes. I know even in the past I had parents who were they held down more than one job, or their job didn't get out until maybe 8 p.m. at night. They would they had odd hours, different shifts, and so what I would also tell the parents, especially when they had to bring their the older siblings to the parent-teacher conference with us, I would look at the older siblings, and I did this for the older siblings who were in first grade, second grade, third grade, or even middle school and high school. I looked at them and I said, "Are you reading with your brother or sister?" And some of them told me yes, and some of them told me no. And I said, "Well, look, if mom and dad can't read with your little brother, or your little sister, you have to read with them." Because it was twofold. I knew that being able to put some of the responsibility on to the sibling helped the mother or father out. They for a brief moment, I brought a little bit of I want to say I brought some more calm, like less pressure off their shoulders. And two, the actual younger brother or younger sister, when they heard me tell the older brother, older sister, "Hey, you've got to do this with your older brother, older sister. You got to do this with the younger brother, younger sister." It just gave everybody a sense of ownership. Of course, it's not the sibling's responsibility to make sure their younger sibling is reading, but it was twofold because I knew, for example, I had a student who was struggling with reading. English is a second language, and I don't actually believe that was the issue, but that she was English as a second language student. Very sweet, very, very much wanted to learn and never got down on herself. She had wonderful self-efficacy. She had wonderful self-motivation, self-esteem. Even though she knew she was not able to read at the pace of some of the other children, it didn't discourage her. But she had an older brother who was in 5th grade, who was only reading on a 2nd or 3rd grade level. And I remember every time I used to pass the older brother in the hallway at our elementary school, I looked at him. I said, "Are you reading with your sister?" And he kind of looked at me and, okay. I said, "Well, you got to read with her," because I knew where his reading level was, because his mother had told me, he had told me. And so I would always check in on him as well. So it was doubly good. It was good for the older sibling who was at a lower level. It was good for the younger sibling who was a lower level. Also, it's if you do have siblings where they may be close in age, or if you have cousins that are almost exactly the same age, I've found that it doesn't really matter what academic level the children are on, especially when they're younger, to develop a sense of responsibility. I have had children in my classroom that were ahead, and I've had children who were behind. The children who were ahead were not always the children who I asked to read with the children who were behind. There were times where I asked the children who were behind to run a particular reading center. And I knew that they struggled the most in reading, but I still wanted them to get that sense of ownership, that sense of, Mr. White trusts me enough to run a reading center, but my reading level is only, here or on this particular level, but he still trusts me to run a reading center. And it gave them self-confidence to the point where when that light bulb did click, when they were ready to take that next step, whether it was with their phonological awareness, their phonics, their reading strategies, putting words, segmentation, being able to do their get down rhyming words better, being able to get their syllables better, being able to have better better reading comprehension, whether it came to their writing and their writing skills and being able to hear their sounds and all these small details, small skills that are necessary to become a strong reader, even though they may have been behind as far as the state was saying, or in the month of the grade level that they were in, the year, they still were getting, I still wanted to give them a sense of ownership of their learning that went beyond, well, you don't know these sight words, so I can't have you running the sight word group. That's absolutely false. Well, some of my best students who were able to end up being great at sight words were not the strongest at sight words, but when you give them responsibility with the sight words in a group, they continued to take ownership of it, and it was wonderful, because the students who knew they were great at writing and they were great readers and they were great at math still let the other kids shine. It wasn't we're going to put on a face. When you're in kindergarten and you have an opportunity to see your fellow classmates who you love, because it ends up becoming a community of learners under the right atmosphere, and that starts with the teacher. It is the teacher's responsibility to help create that atmosphere. We used to celebrate all kinds of accomplishments in my classroom, and even whether it took a student till the end of the year to get something that another student got in October, or whether that student got it in October and they were the first ones, then they were happy to see their classmates succeed. So my point with this whole podcast, this whole live stream today, if I can implore you on anything, if you are absolutely at your wit's end and you are worried about your child going into kindergarten from the fall, or you know that in a few short years or in a few short months, next year's school year, in less than a year and a half, they're going to be in kindergarten, and you want to just know one thing that you can do. It's reading with your child. It's just sitting down and reading with your child. And I would ask you to check out another one of my podcasts where I dive deep into the podcast or YouTube channel, Lift Tutoring on YouTube, Jeremy White. I would ask you to check out the fact that you can read with your child in different ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be sitting down with a book, because text is in many forms nowadays, and children have so many interests, and if we don't develop a love for develop a foundation to help those children go after their interests, and we can't tie it back to some form of text, then shame on us, because there's children who are ready to take the next steps. They just need their interest to be acknowledged. It's one of the reasons I run a superhero classroom, because I told my little girls, they said, "Why there's not that many girl superheroes?" And I listed off a bunch of the girl superheroes I knew that some of them didn't know, and I even went so far as to say, "Do you watch My Little Pony?" They said, "Yeah." I said, "Those are superheroes. They saved the day." And so, but if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, at Lift Tutoring, LIFT, it stands for Love, Instruction, Foundation, and Teaching. We are on Instagram, Lift_tutoring, and we are on YouTube, Jeremy White, and it's Lift Tutoring on YouTube. So I hope you've